Hi, I'm Mike, and welcome to Retro Boost, another RetroTINK 4K video. Got the RetroTINK 4K Pro a while back. First impressions video, did a video talking about the enhanced S-Video features, really cool. It's been a lot to learn. Like, I've really enjoyed learning about the device, and like with everything I do with this stuff on the channel, you know, I like to talk about this stuff. I think it's so cool, and I hope that the content I make can introduce someone who didn't know this stuff existed to it, much like I myself was when I first discovered that all this stuff existed. But the RetroTINK 4K Pro, beyond all the other devices I've talked about, has the biggest learning curve to it. It's a lot. Even just, you know, going over some of the written resources like the wiki page for it and whatnot only gets you so far with it. There's so much going on that I want to learn about it, learn more about how it works and what it does and why it does the thing it does. It's been a journey, and who's been here to help me on that journey are tons of people within the RetroTINK Discord. The help channel within the RetroTINK 4K section have been so gracious, answering my questions and teaching me a lot. You all have my sincere thanks. So what I want to do is kind of do like a checkpoint here and talk about a lot of the stuff that I've learned recently as I was researching and trying to understand the auto gain feature. Auto gain really caught my attention when I was first playing around with the system. That was one of the first things that I was like sharing to friends, like, "Duh, look at this," and I would send them like screenshots of like before and after with the auto gain feature with like Super Metroid and stuff. I thought it was just so cool, and I wanted to do a video kind of like talking about that specifically because I thought it was so interesting. But there's, you know, some things to be aware of with the auto gain feature that I had to learn and understand before making the video about it. So that's what we're here to do today. Is I want to summarize the auto gain experience with the knowledge that I've learned, big in part thanks to those who helped educate me on it from the RetroTINK Discord server. You all have my sincere thanks. Helpful links to all of this stuff that's good to research with in the description of this video. So let's get into talking about the auto gain feature in the RetroTINK 4K Pro. So what is the auto gain feature? Well, it's pretty simple. It's one button press and you run a automatic gain calibration, gain referring to contrast and brightness in the image. Think of it like a TV calibration, where you go through all the TV settings and you're dialing everything in to get the most out of what the TV can do. It's like that, but at a press of a button. And that's why I was so like interested in this, because as someone who used to sell and then later install home theater stuff, I was like, ooh, video calibration, tell me more. But there is a lot to be aware of in order to use the feature, like, you know, as intended / properly / get the most out of it, which is where all the stuff I learned comes into play. So with that established, let's talk about how you get the most out of this feature. Firstly, what it can't do composite, can't do S-Video. Asterisk, you can do S-Video if you're using enhanced S-Video. So like the enhanced S-Video VGA adapter I talked about in the last RetroTINK 4K video, the Laser Bear Industries one, connecting that up lets you use an S-Video source, and then you can then run that feature. Auto gain will then work. Very cool. For the other input sources though, it's just good to go. For a SCART or RGB source, an example on screen of pure white is enough to get it going. For a component source, you ideally need to find an example of 100% color bars to run the calibration on. That's the correct way to do it, to get the most out of the feature. Otherwise, it won't be as accurate. Going back to RGB first, though, simply get yourself on a screen with an example of pure white. Obviously, it needs to be like a pure white example and not something like super dark or obscured or whatever. Also, it has to be stagnant because you don't want it to go away before the auto gain feature finishes, especially if the element in question is like fading in and and out or something, it's not going to be good. Don't do that. So typically HUD elements make for a great example of this, and then you just run the feature. One tip suggested is that you can run it multiple times to kind of be sure that the values are consistent, and if they're varying like a little bit, you could find like a median between the different values you're getting if you run it like 3 or 4 times, and you can kind of like manually get it to a middle point. Either way though, you may have to adjust the RGB values a little bit to get them all locked at 255. At that point, you're good to go, and you can now save the profile. It's a big thing to note though that these calibrations, even if saved to a profile, are only good for the resolution that they're being saved in. So if you're loading up a console that has games that output multiple resolutions, like say the GameCube or the PS2 or the Xbox original, that have a pretty wide variety of 480i, 480p, or in the case of the Xbox, 720 and 1080i, you will have to do that for each of those output resolutions. You can't just do it one and done, because when the resolution changes, the calibration goes out the window. You need to do it again, so keep that in mind. For component sources, I referenced the color bars already. Now for me, that posed kind of a challenge. I thought, okay, here's a clever idea. I'm getting creative now. Get myself one of those like calibration DVDs they used to make. Those have color bar tests on them. I'll do that for my PS2 and my Xbox. Well, problem with that is those are typically 75% and not 100% color bars. Way dimmer, so the calibration is not going to be correct. So how do you get 100% color bars? Well, the 240p test suite is like a great way to accomplish that, but for me that meant modding systems or acquiring flash carts, which I will do one day for a lot of the stuff. Probably PS2 be the next one. We talked about that a lot in the server. Got some great info on that too. It's really cool. I didn't know you could do that, honestly. I knew about doing like Swiss and stuff on the GameCube. That's one way to do this, but not the PS2. There are modding processes for that as well. That was an eye-opener. Gonna have to get the fat body one. I don't have that one right now, but it was possible with my Wii. So the Wii with Homebrew, the 240p test suite is a downloadable app. So I got it through that, and it defaults for its color bar screen. The default is 100%. You can change it to 75, but for this purpose, it needs to be 100. So I then ran it. I got the same result all 3 times I ran it, which is pretty cool. And then I can save that. And on the Wii, you can go into the 240p test suite's options and enable 480p output, which is the bulk of what that system supports. Obviously, if I was going to do like virtual console things, I think most of those are 480p, but if they weren't, you just got to figure it out and then toggle the settings as necessary in the test suite to then save that profile. But for me, I did a 480p one since that was the bulk of what I'll be doing with the Wii. But that way, now I have examples of this stuff all dialed in. So now that I've shown like the basics of how you do it with SCART and component, let's see some side-by-sides. So enjoy now some side-by-sides of pre and post game calibration on my 2-chip and 1-chip Super Nintendo systems using SCART directly to the RetroTINK 4K, not doing the usual convert it to component thing as part of my setup in order to get this feature to work as accurately as it's supposed to be. And then some Wii example with component calibrated using the 240p test suite set to 480p, and get an idea. Now, your values and your experience is going to differ from mine. Every console is going to be a little bit different in how it's aged and worn down and so on and so on. So do not take these examples as like the definitive, this is what it's like. It'll vary for you ever so slightly or even widely. It's hard to say. Just take this as like a generalization of what this feature can do for you. And don't panic if you don't like it. It's all subjective still. I maintain that, well, it's fine. Like, it's all subjective. There are people that are going to like this, they're going to hate it, they're going to be indifferent. It's cool. I like talking about these features. You know, you don't have to do this. You could customize it yourself to get a different result. You can do it manually. So much you can do. So just keep all that in mind. And now, some side-by-sides. All right, so there are some examples there of the feature in action. I think out of all this, the Wii was like the most impactful to me. Like I see what it's doing for the Super Nintendo, and I like it quite a bit. When you do it like in front of you on the TV, you really like when it's done. You're like, oh, nice. But the Wii, I was like, okay, there we go. Like when the side-by-side footage was being put together, because you can really tell what it's done looking at like the whites of the flowers, like specifically. That's where it came the most alive for me, and it's really cool. So this is a really cool feature. I really wanted to talk about it and highlight it because I was like nerding out all over it to my friends when I was first using the RetroTINK 4K, sending them like screenshots of it before, during, after, like, look at what it can do, it's so awesome. So I wanted to talk about it, but I wanted to be sure I was like using it as correctly as possible and like had everything kind of figured out about like the basic operation of it first, and that's where the Discord server comes into play. So thank you so much to all of the dedicated people in the RetroTINK Discord server that are spreading all that knowledge. Super appreciate it. It's been really cool to continue learning more about the RetroTINK 4K, because this one has, like I said, has a learning curve to it. I'm the kind of person that likes to know how something works, even if I'm not capable of like getting it. Like when I sold TVs, I wanted to learn how TVs work, even if on only a basic level, because that just like helps me understand everything about what the features mean and what they do. So I'm not someone who's ever been like versed in like, you know, analog video technology before. So there's a lot of terms and things for me to learn here with the RetroTINK 4K specifically that I've been learning. So it's been a lot, and it's been really cool. And it's been great that there are people that are willing to teach that stuff when I've asked about it so far, both myself and others in that server. So really cool. Big shout out. Thank you guys so much. I hope that this video has been helpful and informative in spreading that knowledge further, hopefully to some new people that didn't know about it. That's kind of the idea here, because it's obviously this is a niche space in the world that I hope with my videos can make it at least one person bigger each time. It's kind of the objective, because I know there's a lot of gaming enthusiasts out there that were like me years ago who didn't know this stuff existed. They'll be like, what? I know that for a fact because I keep converting people in my own workplace. I'll tell them about it and they go, what? Just today that happened. So they're out there, and I hope to be reaching them. That's the idea here. So thank you so much for joining me on this one. Again, hope it was helpful and informative as always, and I will see you all on the next one.